Hello everybody. Here we are for another Facebook Live, number 8. And I can see we're live on the other screen. Just going to get rid of that. And I'm not alone today. I have a special guest. And this is what I look like. And this is what he looks like. This is my son, Leo. Say hello, Leo. Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, two of us are going to be looking at your photographs today.
Yes.
So, twice as much pain for you guys. And I'm also, as usual, going to be looking at some of my photographs. And as usual, for the first 5 minutes, I'm going to very quickly tell you that I've got about my masterclass and another little project that I've got going on. So are you ready to go? You can say hello in the chat if you like. Let's see, I've already got, I've got my friend Yaruska. Hello, this is my son, Leo. And if you want to leave a comment so that I can see your comments, you need to go to this page. Okay, so you need to be watching on facebook.com/𝗪𝗵𝗪. And if you want me to see your name when you leave a comment, you need to go to streamyard.com/Facebook and say yes. And if you want to see my masterclass, go to infinitecreativitynow.com. And that's it. Now I'm going to pop over to the other screen and tell you a couple of things. This will be a little bit of introduction about what I'm up to, including the masterclass, for about 5 minutes. Then I will analyze, as usual, 9 of our photographs, 3 of mine and 6 of yours. And then for the last 10 minutes, I will tell you about the masterclass for those of you who want all the details. And if I manage to get through this without killing Leo because he does anything silly, no, he's great. All right, so I'm just going to move over to this screen. They can still see us, okay? So don't start hitting me or anything. And I just want to tell you that the Creative Smartphone Photography Masterclass will be starting on Monday, and you can still join at the early bird price. The offer closes in a couple of days, and there's another aspect to this offer. If you join us, you can invite a friend for $99 per friend. You can invite up to 2 friends, and you can invite them for $99, which is much, much less than the full price, but only if you signed up first. Okay, so it's for you to do something nice for your friends, and they get a program which is worth a lot more for a reduced price thanks to you. I wanted to tell you something which is quite interesting. Now, it's not that. It's not about photography actually, but it was linked because it was the prize that I gave for the some of the people in the selfies 5-day challenge. Now have a look at this. Who do you think this is? Do you know this person? Have you seen this person? There she is. This is what's her name? Tinkuza, and she took part in the selfies challenge, stunning selfies challenge, and I sent her a prize, and the prize was this little painting, and she got it. And she put it together because it's a puzzle. It wasn't like this, it was all mixed up. And she put it together in this way. I'm going to get rid of this banner so that you can see properly. Yeah. So she put it together this way, first of all, but you can actually put it together any way you like. And the magical thing about these, they're called infinity squared paintings. And you can actually take the left row. Actually, Leo, you know how these work, don't you? Do you want to describe how they work?
Yes.
Go on.
You can take on the
column on the left?
The column of the left,
yeah,
and put it on the column of the right.
Yeah, and what happens to the pattern?
And then it's like if it had moving, but it
goes together.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no break in the pattern. And what about the top and the bottom?
The top and the bottom is exactly the same thing. You can take the bottom
line, the bottom row,
and you can take it, to the top.
Okay, you take it to the top, and what happens to the bat in the picture?
Is not the same thing again.
But it carries on.
It carries on.
It carries on perfectly. So that is my magic infinity squared paintings. And what else did I do there? Did I put any other pictures to look at? Yeah, this is I do things in grids of 9, you might have noticed. This is actually a grid of 9, which shows you 9 ways of playing around with this single same painting. So the one in the top left, for example, and the one in the top right, if you look in the bottom right, they look like different paintings, but in fact, they're actually literally the same painting that have been rearranged differently. And you don't have to put them in a grid. You can put them like this, top in the middle. I deliver them to you all mixed up because it's you who finishes the painting. That's my concept. You finish the painting, which I started. So we make it together. Isn't that beautiful? And you can get them with little boxes, and you put them on a little easel on your desk, and you get people to play with them. And you know, because it's a 9-piece puzzle, how difficult can that be? But the problem is, people don't realize that edges on puzzles, normally that's where the puzzle stops. In my paintings, it doesn't, because you can always take another piece from the other side and put it on that side, and it carries on. So every one of the sides of each of these little squares has another piece which joins up with it. Okay, so there, for example, in this painting of 9, there's a piece that continues perfectly there, perfectly there, perfectly there, and perfectly there with no break. And that's the same for all 9 squares. It's a fun and intriguing puzzle. It's also a deep and meaningful metaphor for life, the universe, and everything, which I tell you about. I won't tell you now, but it is. I love it. He's yawning. He's yawning when I start talking about my stuff. It's because he's tired, not because I'm incredibly boring when I talk about my pictures. People are saying hello. Ah, look. Yaruska is saying hello. Robert says bisous à Léo. It's Robert. Say hello. Oh, salut. And she says, c'est mon tableau, c'est mon tableau. Well, no, it's not yours, is it? Because it's someone else's, but I think you might just have one similar. Okay, and well, fancy her watching, eh? How about that? We're lucky tonight. We're lucky tonight. We've got viewers. And I want to tell you about something else. And the thing I want to tell you is that I'm starting something new. I'm going to send these to people around the world, but I'm only going to send 1 square. And this square will be part of a 9-square painting. And people won't know who have got the other squares, but they will be connected to someone who's got another square from that painting around the world. And I will give them the possibility to get in touch with their square neighbors. And I'm going to develop this idea, and it's going to be a lovely way. When people look at one of their squares, they're going to know that in a little way, they are connected to somebody else and everyone else in the end, all around the world. So that's a project I'm working on. All right, I think it's time to start looking at people's photographs, n'est-ce pas? Shall we do that, Leo? Let's look at some photographs.
Good idea.
Okay, good idea. Right, so let's get rid of this. And I'm going to share. Where is it? Here we are. That isn't what I wanted to look at, actually, that picture. What's that doing there? I want to look at mine. Right, I'm going to start with this. So 9 photographs being analysed by Leo and myself, and then 10 minutes at the end about the masterclass if you would like to know more. Okay, Leo, can you describe this one? What can you see? Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know the name.
Where is it?
No.
No, it's not London.
Paris.
It's in Paris, yeah. Do you know what it is?
Yes, it's the thing that go around with cabins.
Yeah, it's a big wheel that goes around with cabins on it. And what's that down there in the bottom right? You know, it's the thing at Concorde.
Yeah.
It's the obelisk of Concorde.
Obelisk.
Yeah. So what do you think of that photograph, Leo? Do you like it? Or what do you think of it?
the sun behind the
clouds and the wheel?
Exactly.
What about it? Do you think it?
Yeah, I like this. And normally the wheel is white.
Yes.
But now is grey with the time and everything.
Yeah.
And in the middle is black.
So what's happened is, because the sun is behind, and I've played around with it a bit, it's actually turned things in front of the sun almost black. So you've got this silhouette. And then I played around with the clouds and I made them much more contrasty. And this is a pretty, I love this photograph. I really like it. It's very dramatic. I also love the fact you've got this big, strong curve coming, where am I? Big, strong curve coming down like this. And you've got that little pokey thing sticking up to, it's almost like a pin is trying to prick the balloon. So that was me playing around and trying to do something a bit different. You've got, up in the top left, you've got the beginning of the spokes of the wheel. They all come storming down. You've got this very strong curve. And then you've got that little pokey thing. So I don't have much more to say about it, other than I tried to make it attractive to look at, played around like crazy with the contrast and stuff, and you end up with a photograph which is pretty dramatic. So that might give you ideas. I needed a day with heavy dramatic clouds, otherwise it wouldn't have worked. You can just see down at the bottom some bits of lamps belonging to Paris and stuff to give you a bit of Paris flavor. Right, let's move on to the next one. And this one is from Karen. Okay, what can you see here, Leo? What can you see?
Fruits.
Fruits, yeah, okay. So where are they?
They're in baskets.
I mean, where are we here?
Oh yeah, in
a market.
Yes, in a market.
We're in a market. Leo's kind of first language is French, so he speaks English with me, Spanish with his mother, and French the other time. So, so English is actually his third language. Yeah, so we've got this lovely market stall, and what I do like about this is that you've come in close, Karen, to the flowers at the front. So there's no wasted space. You know, the flowers take us in, the tomatoes are lovely and big, you're close to them, and that's important. That's a great way of making a market stall look impressive. Go down low and get in close. And the whole bottom of the photograph can be full of whatever it is on the market, you see, on the market stall. So that's great. And then it's really nice if you have some human interest, and you have. You've got this little old lady. And she's looking up at the guy. You don't need the guy to see his face, because if you did, you'd the fruit and the flowers would be much less strong. They'd be smaller. But the guy's kind of in the photograph because the lady's looking at him. She's having a little conversation. She's probably saying, what do you think she's saying, this lady?
Can I have this fruit?
Yeah, maybe she's saying, pound of tomatoes, please. Or maybe she's saying, how much is that? What? So that's quite nice. You know, you've got the fruit, you've got the stall really big, but you've also got human interaction. That's one thing you need to go for as often as you can in a photograph. If you take a photograph of something, okay. But if it's something that is used for anything, it's always stronger if you've got someone using it. So a market stall is for people to buy fruit and vegetables. So there's a lady buying fruit and vegetables. It gives it a story instead of just being a picture of some tomatoes. But we do love tomatoes, don't we? Dorothy is talking about the photograph before, I guess. It looks painted. Yeah, because you know, Dorothy, my objective in my Paris photographs is to produce images halfway between grim reality and a kind of fantasy dreamland. And that's my attempt with this one. All right, so Karen actually said, ignoring the fact that the lady's head is too close to the top of the frame, for a moment, would you crop out what's left of the vendor? Okay, so would I get rid of the guy, basically? Let's try. So what? Do something like this? Literally get rid of the guy? Sorry. Something's going terribly wrong here. There we go. By the way, sorry, this was postponed from earlier because I had logistical problems. I was stuck in Paris. I apologize if anybody was waiting to see me or us. So would I do that? What do you think, Lil? Do you think that's better or not as good as before?
Well, we lose things of the photograph.
What do we lose?
We lose the man, the middle of the flowers.
Yeah.
And there was in the other bit, behind the man, there was other thing, little tomatoes.
Ah, you saw little tomatoes?
Yeah.
I didn't even see them. Well, there's these things, maybe asparagus, there's some flowers. So do you think it's better with the man in or not?
Yes, it's better with the man.
Okay, so Leo thinks it's better with the man in. What do you guys think? Do let me know, with the man or without. And with the man, I mean without the man, this little lady, she's kind of lost the person she's looking at, which is kind of a shame. Plus, she's off towards, she's kind of not squashed against the left, but she's looking towards the left and there's nothing for us to see what she's looking at. So I wouldn't necessarily crop out the guy. Now, if the lady had been looking more towards us, maybe it would have been okay. So it's up to you, obviously. It could be a stronger photograph. There's more fruit, isn't there? There's more fruit and there's less of this guy's backside. But you do lose the interaction between the lady and the guy. All right, so, play around with it, see what you think. All right, let's move on to the next one. And the next one is from Rob. And Rob says, now Rob is a great photographer. He's got a lot of experience and he loves playing around with stuff. He's very similar to me in a way. When he goes places, he puts frames around things. He tries to get interesting contrasts. And he's a fan of, and he's been experimenting in our group recently with framing stuff. So he's standing on the shore or a dock or something. And what can you see there, Leo? What do you think? What do you think we're looking at there?
We're looking at the house.
A house? Where is it? On a hill?
No, in the sea.
So like on the end of the jetty or something, or whatever you call it, there's a house. Maybe it's a kind of a little lighthouse or something. And we're looking through some sort of railings, these green iron railings.
Yeah.
Do you think it's nice looking through those railings? Or is it kind of weird?
Both.
Both. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm putting words into his mouth, so that's not very fair, really. But I think it's interesting because just imagine if you didn't have those green things. It would be an emptier shot, much emptier. Maybe the house or lighthouse would seem more desolate in the middle of this rough sea. So there's that. And also you wouldn't have the foreground interest. For something to look a long way away in a photograph, where's my hand? You kind of need something close. Otherwise you don't really know where it is. So you've got something close here. Is this, it is a lighthouse. As Rob says, does this green fence framing work? This is the canal from Port of Duluth, Minnesota to Lake Superior. The thing that does strike me is it's really, really heavy, this green thing. It is huge. It's like taking up 2/3 of the photograph. It's extremely imposing. And perhaps it works, perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps it comes down to a personal choice. It's not very subtle. But the idea is fantastic of framing. So again, it's kind of a personal thing. I don't have a strong opinion on this one. Again, would you have a little bit of sea on the right here and nothing on the left? So it's kind of asymmetric. And yet the lighthouse isn't slap bang in the middle either. If you moved slightly, would you have been able to do it? If you tilted the camera slightly this way, could you have made it even more symmetrical? Again, it's an interesting shot and it's far more interesting than your average tourist shot. That's just the fact. After that, it's playing around and there's no right and wrong, absolutely none. The best thing is to experiment. If you experiment, if you take photographs, you've already succeeded. You got something to say?
No.
Okay. Right, next one. This is coming on to one of mine again. You know, every 3, it's mine because it's my show. So, you know, that's the way it is. What? Right, so this is a photograph that I took. Do you know where? Do you know where? You don't know where.
Yeah.
This guy here is an expert on the Paris train system.
I know.
Honestly, we go to Paris. And what do we do when we go to Paris?
Go in metro.
We go on the metro. So we go on the metro. We go to Paris by train. We go around the metro system. And sometimes I suggest, hey, shall we go out and have a look at something in Paris? And he says,
No.
Are you crazy? We didn't come to Paris to leave the metro system. We went to Paris to do the metro system. All of it, if possible. This isn't the metro system, but where is it? Do you know where it is?
I have an idea.
What's your idea?
London.
No, it's not London. It's Paris. It's inside a building that used to be a train station. Do you know which museum used to be a train station? What are the big museums in Paris? Do you know?
Histoire naturelle.
There's Histoire naturelle, there's the Louvre, and there's the
d'Orsay.
Musée d'Orsay. Musée d'Orsay is this, and it used to be a train station, a huge, amazing train station. It was on the point of being destroyed. Can you imagine what a disaster, what a tragedy that would have been? And they didn't destroy it. They turned it into a fantastic museum. Look, you've still got the station clock. You've got these arches. It's just wonderful. And I wanted to compare this. I put a theme on my 3 photographs. This is the first one. This is the second. Can you guess what the theme is? What do you think the theme is?
Well,
Between this one, and what's the similarity? What have they both got? They've both got. Can people see? Yeah, they've both got a curve. They've both got very, very strong curves. So I was playing with the curves here because it's me. I put an angle in. I put the clock down in the bottom right. All of the curves storming down towards and over and towards the clock, and then you've got these very strong lines coming in from the side. And then I played around with the colors for fun. So that's if you're inside an impressive building, you're getting tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go to bed when you want. Okay. All of these. What was I saying? When you're inside a really impressive building, well, that's fine. You can take a picture of it. But what have you added? What have you added? And I always like to add something. Otherwise, it's just a record shot. You know, you might as well be taking pictures of somebody else's art for an art book where it's supposed to look exactly like the painting, the photograph. You might as well be have a commission from a museum to take photographs of objects so that when people look at the objects, they look exactly the same in the photograph as in real life. That's one thing. That's not my thing. My thing is add something to it, make it your photograph. So if you saw the Musée d'Orsay, from where I was here, you wouldn't see this photograph. And that's what I recommend people do. Make their own photographs, make their own images that don't exist, that have never existed before. Now let's have a look at a couple more people's. This is from Carolyn. And we've got a couple of cocks or cockerels or roosters, Americans call them. And the French call them coq. English, it's cock or cockerel. American English, it's rooster. And the question is, these wild cockerels were fun to follow. Is there a way to find an optical frame setting? I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 8. What do you think of this photograph? Let's make it bigger. What do you like about it?
The color.
So do I. I like the colors too. The question is kind of interesting. They were fun to follow. In other words, they were walking around. Is there a way to find an optical frame setting? Your camera doesn't really matter. Okay, that's pretty irrelevant here because any camera would have taken a shot quite similar to this. What's more interesting is the fact they're walking around and you can walk around, right? You've got two possibilities to change what you see here. If you moved around and the cockerels stayed still, you could, instead of one being above the other one, you walking around, because one is closer to you than the other, you walking around would change this, okay? And personally, you've got one is above the other, and that gives you a lot of space on the left with no cockerels, and that gives you some space on the right with no cockerels. So if you like, if the subject is the cockerels, we could do this. Okay, nice bit of space behind each cockerel's tail, and edit, no, image, crop to selection. There you go. A nice cropped photo. I haven't got rid of any of the important detail, which was the cockerels. And what do you think of that? What do you think of that? I love your weighty silence. What do you reckon? What do you think? Do you like it like that? A long picture like that? Is it fun? Funny? It is quite funny, you know, one on top of the other. Why not? Having said that, what you could also do is, to be honest, that's about all you can do in terms of cropping. So what I would suggest is either imagine the cockerels stayed where they are, you walk to one side or another, and that's going to move them apart. You put one cockerel up in the top corner, you put another cockerel down in the opposite diagonal corner. This is already a more interesting and more effective framing because you use more of your frame, unless you want a big long picture. The second thing is you can just stand there and wait for the cockerels to move so that there's some sort of distance between them horizontally as well as vertically. It'll happen. You don't know when or how, but it will happen. You know, they're not going to stay there. And what else? Yeah, the other thing is which way they're facing. They're both facing in different directions, and I think that's good. But should they both be facing to, like, the top right one looking in towards the middle and the bottom left one looking in towards the middle? I would say probably, unless you wanted something weird and they're both looking out of the frame. That would be funny, but possibly less of a unified shot. And then the final thing I would say to you is if you squatted down really low and tried to creep up on the nearest cockerel, then it would be much bigger in relationship to the other. And the cockerel near you could become the subject. With the one behind, it would be maybe fuzzier, it would be smaller as a kind of reinforcement of the subject. Okay, so if you actually made the cockerel, the bottom cockerel, you got close enough to it that it actually took up this sort of space. Imagine this sort of space in the shot. Okay, image crop. Right, imagine that was the shot, and this one was much smaller, but you could still see it all. It'd be more impressive because you've got an awful lot of green and brown stuff for your cockerels, haven't you? So what is the subject? The cockerel? Well, make the cockerel really big. That's one way of emphasizing the subject. All right, we're doing quite well here. Next one, next. This is from Dorothy. Dorothy says, what filter can I use to make it brighter? What a beautiful picture. This reminds me of a lake near where I live. What do you think? Is it a bit like that lake down the road on the other side of the supermarket? It's really nice. We've got geese, we've got ducks, and Dorothy says, how can I make it brighter? What filter can I use to make it brighter?
For me, remember the lakes and the rivers under the station.
Yeah, we go to the other side of our station, our local station, and there's some lovely lakes there. Yeah. What do you think about the colours? Do you think, is it bright, dark? Is it okay?
Oh, I think it's okay because it's like if the sun was...
You think it was a sunny day?
Yes, or the sun was getting up or getting...
Was coming up or going down?
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, Leo is saying that he can see that it's a sunny day, and also it even looks like the sun is quite low in the sky because you've got lovely highlighting on these birds. Look on the left side of this bird here, I mean the right side. It's bright on this side and dark on the other. So, you know, got low setting sun. So, Dorothy, why do you want it brighter? I mean, if you made it brighter, what would happen? You want it punchier? You want it, I mean, for me, this looks quite natural. So if you made it brighter, you would be moving it away from nature. And I talked about this in yesterday or the day before's masterclass warm-up video. If you get a photograph and it's not as nice as you remember it with your eyes, you could change it to make it more like that. You know, it doesn't satisfy you. But if you want to start playing around and getting artistic, that's a different ballgame. And for me, this seems perfectly fine. Well lit, exposed, bright enough. Maybe what's worrying you is that there's not enough, like a major subject really up close. There's lovely reflections. You see those nice reflections there? Beautiful. There's 3 geese nicely positioned in the foreground. You've got a bit of foreground interest with all this stuff here. So for me, the problem isn't brightness. It might be composition. You could maybe do something like this. Normally, the biggest thing with making a photograph interesting is giving it a subject that's interesting enough, you know. I mean, and to do that, normally the subject has to be big and obvious and upfront. That's the simplest way. What am I doing? Crop to selection. So, I mean, you could do this. So you've got your 3 geese in the bottom third. You've got gorgeous reflections in the middle third. And you've got the things that are being reflected. So there's a bit of context and a horizon thing in the background. I'd go for that. And you see the sort of framing effect of the brushwood and trees in the top is echoed by the similar stuff, this floating wood on the water below. It's like a double frame coming in like this. You're gonna go have a snooze. So thanks a lot, Leo. Yeah, so I mean, I'd do that, for example, because it's a bit like the story of the cockerels. There's an awful lot of stuff which isn't cockerel in a picture of cockerels, and it's similar to this. Unless it's some sort of an incredibly stunning picture that is so interesting. No, you've got the geese, so let's make the geese pretty much the subject. They're in the foreground, make them bigger, and that's what I would do. And if you're worried about printability, like it's not a standard size for printing, well, okay, but you know, you don't have to be a slave to standard sizes. You can order custom-made frames for a start. And it's more interesting if it's odd sizes as well. And you don't have to put it in a standard frame. You can make your own frame. And I think panoramic shots like this can be really, really beautiful. You can play around with different types of shots, put them together as a kind of cluster, which could be good as well. Now let's move on to, we're doing okay. We're on 33 minutes. I'm doing good tonight. Leo's moved me along. For my last contribution to this evening's effort, I'm going to give you 3 photographs for the price of 1. And I chose 3 of my photographs as I was looking through them to show you 3 ways of doing the same thing. And you tell me what you think. By the way, if you want to comment, oh, I've got a couple of comments here that I forgot. On the market, I haven't seen the flowers, but only tomatoes, says Ingrid. Okay. Dorothy says the man was half. The man was half. I think we're back to this, and since then everyone has fallen asleep. Yeah. So yeah, if you do want to put comments in, make sure you are here. If you're watching the replay, hello replay watchers, you're welcome too. If you want to make a comment that I see, go to facebook.com/SabParis. That's where I see your comments, not anywhere else. Okay, so here are my 3. There's 1. What's the similarity between them? Why did I choose these 3? Here's 2. And here's 3. A 1, a 2, a 3. And this is something you can do with long cylinders. Look up them or look down them. You might not even realize that you're walking past long cylinders because you're just looking straight on. And if you've got a cylinder you look straight on, it just looks like a pole or a line or something, or even a chimney. But you don't think to do something which is quite simple. It's either look up it like this or look down it like this. So this is a beautiful chimney in the middle of a modern clothes shop in the heart of the Marais in Paris. And I discovered it a couple of years ago, blew my mind. I thought, wow, I've been in Paris 26 years. Why didn't I know that existed? And this is the photograph I got. And it's just a beautiful mixture of curves and brickwork and lines and orangey colors. And I love it. It's difficult to have human interest when you're taking a shot of a chimney looking up. But I did manage to get this mannequin thing with a hat on, which is part of the store, which is also rather intriguing because it hasn't got a face, but it's kind of like a human, but it isn't. So that was fun. And as you take a shot like this, play with the angles. Look at what's happening to the angle of the chimney going up with the angle of the lines going across. Think of this in relationship to the edge of the shot. Things are only angles in relation to other things. So all these lines are angles in relation to the chimney. The chimney's edges are angles in relation to the side of the picture. And that's how you can decide what pleases you most. This one is a post, pretty big, but I mean not higher than, let's say, my waist or chest height. And it's a big fat post that you find around Paris sometimes. And I've done exactly the same thing as with the chimney, but this time I'm looking down. And of course I couldn't get under the base of the chimney, but I can get over the top of this post. And isn't that an impressive composition? If you looked at it from a few yards away, a few meters away, and took a shot of that, it would be this kind of post, next to a barrier, which is next to a park with probably people walking, nothing impressive at all. Do this. If this is the subject, well, make it the damn subject, have nothing else in except a tiny bit of context, like the leaf on the bottom, filling in that little corner there. Be careful with the distance between the side of it and the photograph. You can make it absolutely equidistant, if that's a word, or I didn't for some reason, but there's a little bit more space above than on the right. And there is a subject as well. If this post had nothing on it, I don't think it would have been very interesting, but it's actually got a gorgeous, really beautiful, fascinating plaque on top. What on earth is this about? It says year 2000. It says the Green Meridian. It's got Barcelona at the bottom. It's got Dunkirk at the top. It's got dotted lines. It's got circular lines. It's very mysterious. And I don't know if I should even tell you, because that's part of the mysteries of Paris, these sort of plaques. It's a thing and it symbolizes something, but you know what, I'm not going to tell you because you need to come to Paris, and I'll walk you around Paris and I'll tell you what it is. And this one is a staircase. It's a spiral staircase, and I did the same thing, looking up. Well, didn't have a choice. I couldn't really jump to have it at eye level. And what a wonderful composition this gives. There's no human indication of humanity there, but you have got lines, straight lines, and you've got curves. And I've actually framed the zooming up round bits of the stairway in an angled square with sky up above. But because I'm looking up, the sky is like straight ahead of us as we look at the photograph, but of course it's actually straight above our heads in reality. And I've played with the colors. There's it's nice the way it's turned out. Blue, yellow, and actually some green on the bottom of the stairs there, and on this bit here. And oh my God, it's just, I find it beautiful to look at. And that's it, you know, no more explanation needed. There's kind of red dashes here and bits of down in the bottom right, and there's some strange red things which have appeared through the processing. They must have been there in the original, but something in the processing brought them out as bright red. Isn't that weird? There's even some special effects things that make things sort of pop out. They give you strange halos around edges and things. Like you see there's a kind of halo around the edge there, and some purists, they hate that. They only want, they want enhancements to be invisible. And I totally get that. That's a choice. But if you see what's happened here, all around the edges there, it's whiter. That's the processing. But you can also say, I don't care. I love it. You know, nobody can tell you what you like. That's what it comes down to. And I love that. Sometimes I wouldn't want that. Other times I go crazy and, you know, it's just ridiculous. But it's fun. That's the thing. I've got a comment from someone. Dorothy says it's got a face. It's got a face. What's got a face? This? Has this got a face maybe? Could be. Could be. This has got a face? Maybe this has got a face. I don't know. I don't know what photograph you're commenting on because I sometimes don't see your comments. Right, let's move on. I've got two more, actually three, of your photographs, and then we're done for the photo analysis. And then there's one more tomorrow, and that's it. Unless I do some more. But I think 9 is a pretty good challenge, don't you? 9 in a row, it's pretty amazing. Now, this is from Alice. Alice gives me a long comment. And Alice says, Dorothy says, yes. And I still don't know what you're talking about. She's probably saying, yes, those were the photographs I was talking about. Now, this is potentially a picture postcard shot from Alice. I've blown it up a bit. It was taken in St Andrews, Scotland. I was born in Scotland. This would probably be my favorite, though it's not as unique as the others. She was talking about spiral staircases. We saw one yesterday. Again, I want to make my photos more unique. Good. This is almost a tourist photo, but I felt at the time it was artistic. Almost a tourist photo, but I felt at the time it was artistic. So are you suggesting that tourist photos aren't artistic, or that tourist photos are too cliched and you would like yours to be more original? Probably the second thing. With the worn steps, yep. The flowers on each step, yep, check. The small door, check. What else? The age of the building, yeah, look at those stones. Weaver's Cottage. Yeah, what you find in nice touristy, beautiful picturesque areas, they often have a really pretty plaque on them as well. I noticed that in the Lake District where I had a holiday with Leo last year, and a lot of the cottages, they have plaques on the doors. Again, using this as the subject, any way to make the composition more unique? Yeah, I mean, this could be a beautiful tourist postcard, actually. It's square, that's not really postcard shape. So, you know, I mean, good for you for trying to do an original thing. So I'll just throw some initial thoughts at you. Potentially, this could be a lovely, gorgeous little cute thing. It would be nice, maybe needs more flowers, because there's no real punchy colors in this. And also, it looks like there's no sun. Or if there is sun, the photo seems a bit dull. It's lacking in contrast. And yeah, so it looks like it was a cloudy day and there aren't any punchy colors. Imagine if every one of those pots had bright, pinky, reddy flowers in them. That would be a punchy shot. Whereas here it seems less, you know, it's a shame to say that reality should be more real than it actually is. But in terms of a stunning photograph, it is missing something. So it's taken straight on. You know the classic tourist shot? How not to take classic tourist shots? And I told Alice, I discussed this with Alice when she came to Paris. What do tourist do? What is a tourist shot? You see something nice. You're listening to me. Wow. My son's listening to me still. That's amazing. Or maybe his eyes are glassy and just waiting to go to sleep. Maybe I'm a good way to send you to sleep. Just listening to Dad going on and on and on and on. Anyway, what was I saying? How to take a tourist shot. See something nice. Lift the camera to your eye. Click. Oh, wonderful. And you've got the trash can on the right. You've got some back of the lady's head on the left. You chopped off the top of the thing that you were taking, and your finger was over the left. You know, all sorts of nonsense. And obviously the lighting isn't anything spectacular, and the postcard that you can buy for 50 cents is 10 times better than your shot anyway. So there was no point taking it in the first place unless you just like taking shots. If you like taking shots of where you are, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But how can you make them special? Do anything except that. Anything. In other words, don't take it from eye level. Don't have the camera horizontal or vertical. Have it like this. Have something in the foreground that you shoot through, like Rob's picture of the green barrier, the fence. Find something that is in between you and the classic monument or whatever, and shoot through that. I mean, it could even be your finger. If you haven't got anything, well, put your hand up like this and shoot through your fingers, and that'll be like 10 times more original than just a shot of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower through your fingers, you know, I mean, tourists do it, don't they? They put their fingers up like this. And that, it's such a cliche, but at least they're trying to be a bit inventive. The classic for the Louvre pyramid, they put their hand like this. So it's like they're holding the pyramid by the tip. Yeah, all right, whatever. But I mean, what can you do here? I would go crouching down low and get close to those steps and shoot up. See what that does? I would go for details. I'd find an interesting corner of one of those walls and possibly the edge of a pot or something, and just have a close-up with a bit of the pot coming in, a bit of a corner of the window and some gorgeous stonework, and then bump up the contrast like crazy. And that would be an interesting one to have on the wall. You know, the texture of the old stone could become the subject, or the texture, the edge of the pot, the roundness of the edge of a pot against the roughness of the bricks could be the subject. You know, you can go abstract. You don't have to have the whole thing. There's no human in this shot, it's just an observation. If you did have one, if they were grinning right at you, that would be kind of cheesy. But if they were, the person was cleaning their steps because they're proud of their house and all the rest of it, that would be interesting. If you've got someone with you, they could be climbing the steps. You know, that would be interesting. Move back and forth. Those are ideas. You know, I could basically anything other than pointing straight ahead and see what it looks like. And I'm going to finish with 2 from Despina. Hello, everybody, by the way. Dorothy keeps giving me little tiny bits of information about things I said about 20 minutes ago. Now she says, the blue one. The blue what? The blue what? I don't know what you're talking. This, the blue one? It's got a face? Is that, you're saying it's got a face? I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, so here's 2 from Despina. These are the last ones. And Despina says, this is a photo taken with a camera, not a smartphone. Well, you know, a smartphone, this is a camera. This is a photo I liked, but now after watching your videos, oh my God, what have I done? I think it needs some cropping in the grass. What is your opinion? Just to link the 2, because she's getting 2 for the price of 1 here. She says in this one, a storm is coming from the north. I thought so, yeah. And the sun is still shining in the west. Okay. Would you crop? Enhance the colors to accentuate this contrast of the sun and the storm. My son is still watching me. He's gonna, in 2 years, he's going to start a Facebook group for smartphone photography. It's going to be far better than mine. You're all going to leave my group and go to his. I'm worried. I'm really worried. Storms coming from the north. Yeah. Would you crop, enhance the colors to accentuate this contrast of the sun and the storm? The contrast of the sun and the storm. Carolyn says, to me, it is super impactful. Love it. Vespina replies, I like it too. Well, this is a love-in or what? I like it too, but now after all Sab's videos, oh God, I'm trying to look at them under a different lens. Look at them under a different lens. That's interesting. And Alice says, like the clouds, wonder if there were a little horizon in the picture. A little horizon in the picture. Okay, yeah. So a bit of land at the bottom. It would look more ominous, but of course we can't cut off a branch. Yeah. So what she's thinking is, if you went lower on the photograph, you could get the horizon in, but you'd lose the top branches. That would be nasty. That would be pretty nasty, unless it depends, doesn't it? So comments on this. Do we lose a bit of the grass, folks? What do you think? Let's do it. Crops of selection. The grass is gone. The grass is out of here. Yeah, that's maybe nicer. You know, when you've got something which is normally attached to the ground, like feet or car tires, I feel more comfortable when they're not floating around about midway in a photograph. So you've got car tires here. You've also got the dog's feet. You can't see the dog's feet. Maybe you didn't even see the dog. He's got feet, paws. And, you know, if he's halfway up the photograph, plus the bottom third is just grass, yeah, why? You know, you're thinking, why? So go long. Given that this is the shot, I would go longer. I like panoramic shots. You've got these two very strange poles here. I don't know what they are. I don't know what's going on. They're really, really bright in contrast to the rest, which gives contrast. But my only issue with these is I don't know what they are, and they kind of look weird. They look so shiny and new. They look like a kitchen table or something in the middle of this rugged, ominous natural scene. I like the car because it makes you think that someone is watching the storm, and this is someone who, you know, is close to nature, and maybe they've come out here to feel close to the elements. Maybe they're going to write poetry, or they're going to lament a lost love or something. So that's fine. That gives a context. Because imagine, okay, it's just some, you know, stupid car. Sorry. But if you got rid of the car, there wouldn't be any story at all apart from the dog. And you can't really see the dog. So it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it? The car tells one story. The dog, you wonder what the dog's doing there. I mean, if there's some sort of life in a picture, like a live thing, that's generally the subject, but the dog doesn't really seem to be the subject of this photograph. He's kind of half hidden. Then you've got these huge kitchen table, shiny, like orange poles lit by the sun by the looks of it. The dog isn't, though. The dog's in the shadow. So it's a kind of a mixed bag of a photograph. It's interesting, but I'm not quite sure what to do with it. So I hope that, well, there you go. Hope you didn't fall asleep through that. And then the last one. Let's look at the last one. Leo's gone to sleep. That's it. He's gone. He's out of here. It worked. Okay, I'll say some interesting stuff now. I mean, how minimalistic can you go with photography? I mean, if you got rid of the branch, let's do this. Imagine this with a photograph. Because you've already got a pretty minimalistic photograph, haven't you? It's crops selection. Right, imagine that with a photograph. What do you think? Cool? Or is that too minimalistic? It's not a word, is it? Is that too minimalistic? Well, if it is, let's throw in something that is... What is the most minimalist thing you could throw in? Probably a bird or a tree. but not any tree, not a tree with lots of leaves and stuff, a bare tree with nothing on it. So if I do, actually I can do this, isn't it? Yeah, there you go. All right, so it's it's really minimalistic, and I like it because it's so minimalistic. And some Zen stuff is like this: purity in simplicity, as simple as you can. There's a kind of decluttering movement, isn't there? Like, get rid of all the crap in your house, like all the books, all the CDs, all the everything, and you just sit there there's a table and a chair and a bed and you. So there's something beautifully pure about minimalism. This could very easily fit into that. I can imagine this as a Zen poster with, if you want to put a quote, a Zen quote on the right, then that would work actually. In terms of composition, I'm thinking, what about if the tree were a little bit more over to the right? Because it's kind of rammed up against the left for no really good reason. Off center is good. Really pushed to the right when there's not really a reason to push it. Sorry, left. There's not really a reason to push it so far to the left. It's almost unbalanced. There's a kind of limit. Move it away from the center, it's more pleasing. But you move it too far and you think, what's going on here? Why is it rammed up against like this? So possibly, unless there was something stunningly amazing, like a single bird here, that would work, but there isn't. And in terms of the sky, what I love though is the tree is obviously lit by the sun, I would say, against the dark sky. That's a beautiful effect. You could bump up the contrast, which would make it even more impressive. But very quickly, it's going to get to the point where people know that you've bumped up the contrast. This is the only thing I ever do. I've already told you on these, just one single thing. I do all my processing on my iPhone these days. Is that kind of bumping it up a bit? Yeah. I mean, you can. Okay. That doesn't look too completely artificial, does it? Yeah. So taking it from that to that is cool. It's good. You haven't taken it so far that it's, people are saying, oh, come on, it's just a special effect. The moment for me a photograph becomes a failure is when people look at a photograph and they're more interested in the special effect that I've used than the photograph. That's a failure. I don't believe in failures or successes. But if I were to use that word, the F word, that would be it. Because for me, everything starts before the photo has been taken or the camera has been chosen. So don't start with crap. Start with something amazing, something that pleases you, then play around. I like that. I think it's good. If you want to go arty, you can change the colors, can't you? You can, I don't know how to do this, curves, posterize. No, that's too much. But you can play around with colors, can't you? You can make it more purpley, for example. What's it going to be? Color saturation, maybe? What happens if I do this? It's kind of funny though, isn't it? I mean, you can. Why not? You've got such an abstract subject that there's no rules. There aren't rules. You do what you want. A photograph isn't real. It's a flat image. It's either on a piece of paper. A piece of paper isn't the sky and the tree. A computer screen isn't the sky and the tree. It's not real anyway. So if you change the colors, it doesn't matter. It wasn't real to start off with. If it pleases you, if it's fun to do, if it makes you smile, then do it. And with a minimalistic shot like this, it's more open to artistic interpretation because, there's nothing. Say, for example, the shot of the dog, I turned the dog purple. That's going to make people say, what? A purple dog? Yeah, whatever. But here, a purple sky, people are going to know that you're playing around with colors and they're going to accept it. But you turn a dog purple, they're going to say, no, I'm sorry, you know, dogs in my universe aren't purple. That's just weird. So that's my take on that. And that is the end of this video. So I'm gonna, we're at an hour. You see, I'm getting more efficient. Wow. Okay, so I'm now gonna spend 10 minutes talking about my masterclass. You may go if you wish. I would like you to go and sign up for my masterclass if you haven't. And, or at least if you are not able to do it, or it's not the right time for you, please show it to someone else that you think would like it, because it is great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everyone's going to finish with an amazing series of photographs at the end. So if it's not for you, if you know someone else, I'd really, really appreciate it if you showed it to them. And now, thanks for watching if you're going to leave us now. If not, I'm going to spend a few minutes telling you about the masterclass, which starts on Monday. Okay, that's me again. And if you have any, you know, if you missed the beginning, and I talked about something I'm going to do with my photographs and with my my paintings, I'd love it if you had any comments on that as well. Spreading my little artistic squares around the world. You might actually be receiving one of these, and my idea will also be for people who receive them to possibly gift them to others as well. And the fun thing is going to be, you're not going to know who the people are who have the ones that attach to your square. But part of my dream, my plan is that you will be able to. When you buy a square, it's a contribution, you know, it'll be a few dollars, just enough to send the postage, really, like $9. I had this idea of $9 in my head because there's 9 squares, so it's totally symbolic, but it has to cover the postage and, you know, a tiny bit more. You will have the possibility to contact the 4 people who your square joins up with, and they could be anywhere in the world. Can you imagine how fun that'd be? And it'll spread, you know. It's not about love. Lots of people do things like love and hearts. That's wonderful. But I thought I'm more about connection, you see. This is connected to another piece. So my thing is going to be connectivity, the connectedness of all things and all people. So that's going to be my thing. And I'm dreaming up a name. I'm thinking of calling it, should I tell you this? I2C. I2C, I for infinity, 2 for the squared, infinity squared, and C for connectivity. Infinity squared connectivity, something like that. All right, so I'm going to tell you about this. If you're watching the replay, then this is for you as well. And it's starting on Monday, and it's a masterclass for photography. I'm focusing on smartphone photography, not because it doesn't apply to other types of photography. It absolutely does. My roots and my everything really about photography until a few years ago was based on, you know, big fancy cameras with lenses and all the pro techniques and everything and artistic techniques. But then one day in a cafe, one of my Paris tour clients casually put down a thing like this on the table in the cafe after our photo tour, and she turned it on. And, you know, I used to have a little thing I flicked open like this, Motorola, with these buttons on. I thought it was really cool. She put this on the table, turned it on, and I saw a bunch of photos, and she brushed her finger across it and they moved. My life was never the same again. And the first photographs were a bit crappy because the quality wasn't that great, but very quickly it got great. Now it's stunning. You know, you can take just as great photographs as the great Paris street photographers of nearly 100 years ago. Well, let's say 70 years ago or 60 years ago. So you're not giving up anything by the fact that we're talking about smartphone photography, but it's not. It's all photography. And my masterclass is over 9 weeks, but it's 9 very softly, gently paced weeks. Okay, the idea is you succeed. There is something to succeed in. It's not just you do the course and you think, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, I did a photography course once. My aim is for this to be the only photography course you will ever need, unless you're going to specialize in a really specific area of photography. If you just want to be able to take your smartphone wherever you are, family situation, in the mountains, in a city, street photography, flower photography, it doesn't matter. You will know what to do, and you will know how to develop to get better after this course. So it's very, very doable. And you have an objective, but you set the objective, okay? You set the number of photographs you want to finish with by the end. And I and the rest of the people in the group will support each other so that you get there. And you finish with an exhibition, and a photo exhibition under 9 different themes. And those 9 different themes tell you 9 different ways of taking photographs and approaching photography. And it's arranged into 9 modules. 9 to 5 modules over 9 weeks. And 5, it gives you a real sense of progression and that you're moving. And I've actually incorporated several techniques into this for you to feel and see and enjoy the progression that you're making over the weeks. It's an experientified program, officially experientified. I'll just go down to show you that's actually a thing. It's a thing, which means that it's officially got stuff incorporated into the course, which applies all the possible ways of making this course motivating, fun, exciting, and finishable. In other words, eminently finishable. Like all the other courses you haven't finished, you will finish this one, unless there's some disaster, and you will succeed. And you will feel happy about your wonderful new photography. All of the photographs on this page were taken on my smartphone. For me, the reason I do like smartphone photography, though, is because all of a sudden there's a new element, and that's the apps. The apps are amazing. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not living in the past. I only want, black and white photographs and a fixed lens. No, let's use all the stunning stuff you can do today and go for it and see what we can't do, So there's 5 modules. First module is 1 week, and it's about the joy of photography. It's discovering what photography is. Why do we love images so much? Why do we look at images before we read words? Then module 2 is 2 weeks, and it's mastering your smartphone controls and how to use it and apps. That's 2 weeks. So it's roughly camera 1 week, apps the next week, although it might be a bit mixed up. There's 2 types of apps. You see, I divide them into 2. One is to correct your photos to get the lighting more like it really was. And the second type is getting artistic, going crazy or adding a frame like this, you see, a fancy frame. All right, then you have a break week or a catch-up week. Okay, it's absolutely doable, this course. You've got a break week or a catch-up week. We might even have a live to see how things are going. Then you've got module 3, which is the core. It's the heart. It's 3 weeks. It's the longest module. This is where you learn about choosing the subject and making sure the subject is clear what the subject is, all the sorts of composition elements you might be interested in. And composition is a huge area. Okay, so 3 weeks on that. Lighting, that's huge. It's all in there. Then you have another week's break or catch up. Okay, and then you have the last 3 weeks. Module 4 is 2 weeks, and it's about developing your photographer's eye. You could call this the advanced level. If the last 2 levels were elementary and intermediate, this is advanced. It's not really about the camera or apps or anything. It's about what happens before you click anything, before you pick up anything into your hands. It's not really teachable, but it's guidable. I can help you understand what it is. I can guide you towards it, developing your own photographer's eye, and I can help you get into the right mindset and situations where these images, which come from a really deep place, your entire life, in fact, your life experience up until now, is what is behind the photographer's eye. What makes you see one thing rather than another? See one thing that make you see one thing that other people wouldn't see. Well, things will count for you, which don't count for others because they haven't had the same background, So this is it might be imperceptible. You know, you might see, you look at a photo, you're not going to see the photographer's eye or see the photographer's entire life in there. Yes, but aha, yes, you are. You are actually, you know, that you can actually help people to look at photographs in a different way as well. And the last module is 1 week. And this is the culmination of the whole program. It's the celebration week. It's the exhibition week. It's the graduation week. This is where you give your exhibition. It can be very humble, just in our little group, or it can be a big exhibition in a real gallery where your photographs are on real walls with real people looking at them. Or it could be somewhere in between where you're in you could do it in your living room and you could have your family round to look at it. And you give a little talk about your photographs. Okay, it's an event. It's a graduation ceremony and it's an event. So I'd like, you know, you're going to film it in one way or another and share it with us and celebrate. This is going to be wonderful. This is maybe the start of a huge new photographic career. We don't know. And there are some bonuses which are there. I won't go into them. Please look at this page. All of these crits, these photo appreciations and analyses are part of a new bonus. I'm going to get rid of all the blah blah about the masterclass. You're just going to have pure photo analysis as another bonus, and that's over 81 photographs being analyzed. So there's a huge amount of content and ideas there. And if you like, do chug down the page and, you know, read some of the other stuff. Personal success guarantee. I'll work with you until you reach your objective. There's people saying nice things about working with me and in photography. That's about me. Frequently asked questions. And finally, the final screen. Hit this button anytime, click to join, put in the code, which is 𝗪𝗿𝗺 in capitals, 𝗪𝗿𝗺, and you get $100 off. You can also invite 2 friends for $99 each, which is a wonderful gift to 2 friends, and you'll be doing it with other people as well, which is great. And this is the last screen on this page, and it says action. I kind of invented it as I was going along, but I must admit, action is really important to me. You take action and something will happen. And the result that you get is normally wonderful. And even if it's not positively wonderful in the way you might think, you still learn from it. So action always leads to something positive in a way. In comparison to no action, like doing nothing, and nothing will happen. That's probably the result of doing nothing. So I'm not a big fan in marketing of, you know, telling people how terrible things will be if they don't do my program. I think that's a bit ridiculous, but it's true that if you don't do anything to make your photographs get better, then you won't have the fun of going through the program and your photographs won't get better, probably. So there's that. And that's it. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. The page you need to go to discover this is not that. It's this, infinitecreativitynow.com. There's one more of these. This is number 8. Tomorrow will be number 9. And that's it for this series. And we start the masterclass on Monday. I hope to see you there. It's going to be amazing. Your photographs are going to go from sad selfies, perhaps, no, or sad, what do I call it? What's my thing? My thing is from sad snaps to incredible images. And that is exactly what I intend to happen. So this has been me. I'm going to get rid of that. I really appreciate you watching this, and there'll be one more tomorrow. And have nice evenings or nights or mornings or afternoons. Any questions, do send them in either underneath this video or to me personally, and I'll see you tomorrow for the last one of these. Bye for now. And thanks to Lil, who's sleeping. Bye for now. Bye.